Morning, sisters. I'm gonna go with sisters this morning. Um, all the ones that's made the comments on my videos have been women. The two nasties, very nasty. They were violent in nature. Definitely came from men, not women. So I would have to say I'm addressing women at this point in my studies. Men aren't interested in understanding, uh, you know, a higher elevation of truth. They're not interested in truth at all, especially if it's coming from women because they're the only faithful and truthful ones. And we know that that's an absolute lie from Baal's tongue, from his own tongue. You know what it means to open your ears and your eyes and your heart, your spirit, means to be willing to give it a real, honest listen. If you're just gonna come on, and I know this to be true because years ago, when people would bring up something and say, well, listen to this, and you'd go in, but the whole time you weren't really listening. You completely had your opinion all set in before you ever turned it on. So that's not an honest listen. It's not an honest of opening your eyes and listening with your ears and having your spirit open up to listen to it and to weigh it up. That's not being honest. For those who come on here and say, well, yeah, I watched it, I listened to it, it was a little bull. No, you come on with a preconceived, already judgment. Now, when I was searching in earnest, I would listen to men and women who had differing views on biblical scriptures to what current day religious theology of, and we're going to use Christianity because that's what I come out of, taught. And they went on a different understanding. And so when I was truly seeking, I had a truly opened mind. And they'll teach it, that's a bad thing. Don't ever do that. I heard that off the pulpit from the men. And that's absolutely what God tells you have to have in order to understand the truth. You have to be willing to open your eyes. You have to be willing to open your ears and to honestly listen with your spirit and go, okay, I'm not casting a judgment before I hear it. And I'm going to weigh it up because at this point I am really searching for truth. And so that's what it means to honestly go in and give a listen. It means that you're honestly searching and seeking. And in the beginning, that's what I was doing. And I was willing to listen to man or woman. And I hit on both. I hit on some men who had a totally different view of the feminine and women who had some beginning understandings of that. This come back quite a while ago. And even though I had been raised in a religion that taught, don't you dare, don't you dare, don't you dare, that's cult. That's brainwashing of a cult. That's what that is. That's how a cult works. And you begin to understand that the further away you come from your cult teachings, you begin to realize how they had set that in your brain to close your eyes, to close your ears up and your spirit so you would not hearken to those deeper truths. Now, when I come to the end of myself and I was like, this just is it's not making sense to me. There just seemed to be such a palpable hatred towards anything female in the Bible from the men off the pulpit that was projecting it. And it wounded. It wounds you. It really does. It's a deep wounding in your spirit because you're sensitive to it. You are female and they are male. And there's a clear projection of that hatred. Though their tongues are trying to drip with oil, there's clearly drawn swords in their hearts. And the Bible tells us that this is a war that we are in. And we're in a war for the truth. And it says, through the counsel of wisdom and through the counsel of many, we shall make our war. And we will win it because truth is going to win it. Not the big old lie, not the big old elephant in the room with a man's head on a woman's body. It doesn't work that way. Why now do I see every man standing around with his hands on his hips as if he's the life giver when he clearly is not? What does it say of the women in, where is it, Isaiah 26? It says, we have been with child, we have, as it were, brought forth wind. And we know what wind means. 417 in Greek tells you wind means empty doctrines. And yes, though we use the Greek word because they won't tell us that it means empty doctrine there in the Old Testament. But clearly that's exactly what we're bringing forth. We are not delivering our children into truth. We are delivering our children into Baal's lie, which is the draft house that the female descendants of truth, the new Zion, the new branch, has to come out of. All that admixture of lie known as the Red Sea, it must be parted, which is allegorical to your birthing canal. So you part that admixture, which is wine on your table that Christians drink, and you go to sleep in that. It says he put strong drink to not his brother's lip, his sister's lip, so he could expose her nakedness, which is the current marriage covenant where he tells us he's our head and we must do whatever he says, which in fact is just making you play his harlot. Bow down at the feet of a male idol, which is spoken of in Daniel 2. Now, we've been through all of this, and I could go into more detail, but it is in all the videos. And so where we were going to jump off into the transmigration of the soul, and by the way, I'm sitting a little bit different than what I usually do. And of course, I'm back to the old spot. I do have my desk full of apothecary stuff now because I make my own salves and my own oils and my own tinctures and stuff like that. And so I can't put it up on the second level here that I normally do. But I'm sitting, actually, I'm very comfortable because I have this really nice antique chair gifted to me by my mother and my sister. Beautiful chair. You can't really see it. It's an antique. It was in the family for quite a few years. And it's just so nice and comfy. So, not that you care, and I got hair all over my sweater, sorry. And I look like I'm about that wide, and I have put some weight on. I'm on a diet. I'm trying to take some weight off. But, as you get into your mid-50s and thereabouts, you start to really kind of settle. Anyway, and I don't mean that I'm fat. I don't, I'm bigger than what I normally am, and I think it's because of my age. But I would like to get on to some kind of healthy, regiment of nightly walks. And as the weather gets better, I intend on doing that. Not that you care. Anyway, I'm fairly tall. I'm a fairly tall woman. I don't mean I'm extremely tall. I'm just not extremely short. I'm like 5'7", and I'm kind of big boned. I've always been big boned and kind of long limbed. Sorry, not that you care about that. Anyway, I would like to give a better presentation of myself. But really, when it's all said and done, we all know what it's really about. It's really about the truth in here, and the truth in here. Forgive me for focusing on the physical there momentarily. But let's get into this study now that I've babbled for a while. I guess that's my accent from where I'm from coming across. So let's go to where we intend on beginning. We're going to start in Ecclesiastes 12, and we'll go on until we don't feel like it. And this is what it says. It says in Ecclesiastes 12, verse 1, and we're going to talk about the almond branch and when she finally blossoms, and it is she's the new branch blossoming. And unfortunately, it's a real solemn warning to remember your Creator in the days of your youth, before the days of trouble come and the years approach when you will say, I find no pleasure in them. So that don't sound like a very good time frame, does it, to be in? So what's the stern warning about? Is it about remembering your father? Well, no, you have father. You have son. Oh, but you have to have them in here. Right. Let's keep reading and really validate who our true creator really is that we forgot in our youth. So Ecclesiastes 12, verse 1. Remember now thy creator in the days of thy youth, why the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in them. While the sun, or the light, or the moon, or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. So what is rain? Rain means, so to be in a dry desert land means to be without the doctrine of truth. So we identified the clouds as the clouds of witness. So if we've got rain here, we've got that the land is no longer dried out and desert and without the truth. There is truth here. So while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened. So that's pointing us to Revelation when the sun and the moon and the stars all go dark, right? So it's taken us to the time of the tribulation, to a bad time. That, of course, was prophesied in by false prophets. But here we actually have it in the Old Testament, validated that there is some truth to this, just not in the way that you've been taught it. It's saying, remember now your Creator in the days of your youth. So when I think of the youth, I think of the newborn child that comes of age, which is a daughter, it is not a son. It says Ephraim appears at the womb. It says Ephraim is a stupid child and does not appear, at the opening of the womb when it is time to be born. So it is talking about a daughter. It is also talking about a child, right? And then it says a child will lead them. And they say, that's a boy, a son, a man. And no, it's not. It's the daughter. We're looking at the firstborn of mother's womb. And we can go into all that detail. We have gone into all that detail. But here we've got the rain, right? So we'll get moving along here. Before the sun and the light are darkened, before all this happens, before the tribulation happens, you might want to think about actually remembering your Creator and who that is. Be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. So who's the cloud? Well, the cloud here, when we keep reading, is identified as that almond branch. All right. This is interesting. We're going to keep going here. And the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow down themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened. So bad things are coming and prophesied to come upon the earth if you don't remember your Maker, your Creator. All right. So we're not, and it says, and the door shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low, and he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of the music shall be brought low, except for the branch. Also they shall be afraid of that which is high. So what's high here? Well, I'll tell you what I pictured. I pictured a planet. That's what I'm picturing here. And we can validate that. Let me go to my notes here. We're sort of being a little bit more informal than what we have been. This chair makes me very comfortable. So let's see. Yeah. Okay, so I have all the notes there. So let's just finish this verse. It says, also when they shall be afraid of that which is high, and fears shall be in the way, and the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper. Now we can identify grasshopper as soldiers. So the reason that we do that is when you hit on this word, and I'll just explain it rather than going in and going through all the time here. You can do it for yourself if you'd like, or you can just listen to me tell you what it says. When you go in and you hit on that word grasshopper, it's going to pull it up and it's going to go also a locust. So we know it's an army because it speaks of the army of locusts also in Joel 2, which this is actually kind of referencing. We could go into a little bit more detail, and we just may if we have the time. So a grasshopper is a reference to a soldier of types. So, and the grasshopper shall be a burden. So the grasshopper and the soldiers that's a burden here is the world's armies that creates war. And they have become a burden to the people, these soldiers. Shall be a burden, and desire shall fail, because man goeth to his own home, and the mourners go about the streets. So let's stop there, because there is a lot actually to go through, and we could. Vanity of vanity, says the preacher, all is vanity. And it is. It's about man's vainness to want to rule with her law that he took from her. So to remember your Creator, let's go in and hit on this word Creator and see what it leads us to, really. So you're interlinear. Oh, okay. So creator is 1254, Strong's Hebrew 1254. And you know what it says? To shape, create, to shape, as in to form the clay. Well, that ain't Father that does that. We hearken to this understanding that the tabernacle, which is a representation of the bodies below, represents the tabernacle above, the bodies above, then that male tabernacle could not in any way, shape, or form create our bodies. Just can't do it. Number one, he has less genetic material or ability to do it. He's an XY. She's an XX. She holds a third more genetic material. And she forms the clay in her womb, to whom you told the potter that she had no power over her own creation. That's what you did. So we get the word creator here. Remember, your creator. That's not a man. A hand don't form it. A hand does not form it. His hand did not form Adam because it could not. Mother did, the one you denied. And you may want to use her as the right hand in allegory. You denied her. Plain and simple. It don't matter how you want to cut it. You denied your mother in the days of your youth. We also understand why she did so. Okay? So we're not going to look at that aspect in this video because we've looked at it before. So choose, create, creator, cut down, dispatch, do make fat, create, select, choose, goes on and on. So that takes us actually to your creator, your potter, and maker. Those are the verses that I think of when I think of my creator who forms and shapes. And God says, you're without excuse. You see who creates and forms the clay in her womb. You're without excuse to understand my Godhead. I manifest it for your eyes, not for some man to write in there what he thinks it means or wants it to mean. But it is for your eyes to bear witness. Again, it comes back to the idea of a willingness to open your eyes. And when you're stuck in a man-made religion that's got you trapped in a ditch that you can't get your way up out of, the blind leading the blind, you have all fallen into a ditch. You're not willing in any sense of that word willing, to listen, to reason. You just simply cast it off because you are in a cult-minded like atmosphere that continually teaches you, don't you dare, don't you dare, don't you dare. And it's that fear that we spoke of in our last video on Ruth Abbey. I'll point you over there. That says it's fear that has led to your lack of willingness to reason. It is your own fear that has done that. And so to be willing to open your eyes and your ears means that you weigh up what is said in this balance. And to say that God does not reason means that you're saying God creates chaos. That God is a creator of chaos. Now, yeah, we can say God is a creator of everything. God allows things for a reason. And in this case, I think it is the teaching of the young daughters. This has been allowed for us to open our eyes, to allow us to reason, to understand why God's law has to be the law that rules in the land. And when you depart from God's law, God's truth, the men every time will stick a bitter law upon the daughter's neck, especially when you're back down at the feet of that male idol in Daniel 2. That the rod smashes, that the stone cut out without hands, identifying this new branch. Yep. She was the foundation stone, denied in the very beginning. She's being denied here in the end. And that is why you are solemnly warned to remember your Creator in the days of your youth. And we get the one who shapes and forms with this word, where I pulled it up. Let me see. Actually, we'll go to the Isaiah 29. No, that's not why we go to Isaiah 29. That's a different reason. But I am looking for this word here that I pulled up. Come on, move. It is. Where is it? Oh, apparently I don't have it up anymore. It is Strong's Hebrew 70. Right, let's pull it up. Strong's Hebrew 70. There we go. This is the word they don't want to give you in Isaiah 29. Okay, so let's just go back to Isaiah 29 right quick, and we'll read that verse just to quickly. Okay, so Isaiah 29, what does it say? We got to back up here. Okay, I guess it's down. What does God say? And God says to those wise men who are they're not wise, and the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed, which men deliver to one that is learned, saying, read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I cannot, for it is sealed. And the book is delivered to him that is not learned, saying, read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I am not learned. Wherefore the Lord saith, for as much as his people draw near me with their mouths and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their hearts far from me, and their fear towards me is taught by made up rules of men. That's what it says. Behold, I will proceed to do a marvelous work among this people, even a marvelous work and a wonder. That's the daughters of wonder. That's the branch. It's not men of wonder sitting across from Joshua and Zechariah 3. It is daughters of wonder. For the wisdom of their wise men shall perish, and the understanding of the prudent men shall be hid. Now, they'll often say, Jesus expounded the scriptures. No, he didn't. He didn't expound nothing. He didn't explain anything. All the mouth of Jesus was the mouth of Baal. He spoke through this made up image of God. And he really never expanded anything. All he did was say, me, I'm the key of David, I'm this, I'm that. And he just went on, and that's all he ever did. Me and my father, me and my father, me and my father. He never expanded anything. And God tells you that the true God who sends her messenger in tells you that in Isaiah 48. And we'll get into that maybe too in a minute. But what does God say in verse? Okay, we'll read 15 also of Isaiah 29. Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from the Lord, and their works are in dark. And they say, who seeth us, and who knoweth us? You don't know what they did. They say they hid when they did it, right? Nobody saw what we did when we did it, right? And that takes you to the eyes of a dragon. To be the definition of a dragon means to be keen-sighted, right? And it's another term for Satan, fallen Adam, keen-sighted. He has horns. Horns is symbology, actually, of light in allegorical terminology. And we explained that on our last video, I believe on Ruth Abbey, the very last video that we were ever going to post there, was a symbol of illumination, just like the eyes are illuminated with light and understanding, which is going to take us to the transmigration of the soul. When we get into this deeper, and we may not actually hit on the transmigration of the soul because I'm talking too long about other things. But it means to be keen-sighted as a dragon. It means to be illuminated. It means to have understanding as a dragon. It means to influence the governments behind the scenes, such as what wicked men do in this world. And so they say, with their great knowledge and their great enlightenment and their horns, who sees us? Who saw what we did? Who sees what we're doing now? They don't see what we're doing. To the wicked law, you can't see what they're doing to women under the law right now. They're trying to remove the she pronoun. You don't see men attacking us under the law? By the way, it's their miserable man-made law system, and they speak about feminists. Well, the word for feminist really come to mean a woman who would stand up for women's rights under the law. And the reason why you have to stand up for your rights, unfortunately, is because Baal thinks he's God. And he thinks he has a right to tell you what you can and cannot do as a woman, and that he can remove those rights simply by telling you that he's God's messenger and the voice of God, when he clearly has been identified as the Antichrist, the voice of Antichrist. And that means the antinomian. They go against her law, the Spirit's law. They refuse to uphold her law. And instead, they put this bitter law upon her neck, which we've discussed in videos. So, verse 16 says this: surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as the potter's clay. Now, when you go in here for the word for potter, they're not going to give you number 70, which is what it clearly should be rendered, because she's the one that gives life. I mean, what? You can't see that in this creation with your own eyeballs? Too much pride to open them? Your ears are, you got a hard neck. You know what a hard neck means? It means an argument that you've solidified through a refuge of lies, which you have hid yourself under, which is identified in Isaiah 28. When the overflowing scourge comes in, when the cloud of witnesses comes in, they can't see what we did because we've hid ourselves under a refuge of lies. We've hardened our neck. We've understood that your neck was allegorical to your tower, your stronghold, which is allegorical to your argument, to your defense, right? We know the defense was to come from daughter Zion, and she will have her covenant restored back to her as is promised in Micah chapter 4, maybe 5. It says, daughter Zion, your covenant will be restored. Your stronghold, right, will be restored back to you. Your argument, your defense. This is about a court case pending, the controversy of Zion. You split my pleasant land into two covenants, a harlot spirit that bowed down to a made-up religious lie of man as God, and you rejected my righteous daughter's law off of their tongue that came directly from me. So there is a court case pending. She will present her court case, which is the Koheleth that assembles those proverbs and orders, and then she rebukes fallen Adam in that court case. And she says, long time have I held my peace. And she's the one that has been forced to hold her peace under a religious refuge of lies that they have hidden this lying covenant under. So surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as a potter's clay. Now, they did not put the right word for clay, for potter, rather. So you know what the right word is? I'm going to tell you the right word that goes there for potter is Strong's Hebrew 70. And this is what it means. It means a wheel, a disc, Eben. It'll take you to the word 68, which means a female stone, your foundation stone rejected. But it's a potter's wheel. It's two discs revolving one above the other. I also see planetary alignments. We're also getting, we'll get into it a little bit more. Planetary alignments to some degree with the revolving of these discs, just like you would get in a potter's wheel. It's all there in the allegory. I'm still trying to get my mind around it. So, probably it's a bearing stool, a midwife's stool, from the likeness to a potter's wheel on custom of labor. So we see who forms the clay on the birthing stool. It is not a man. It is the creator, the potter, the maker that you denied, your mother. And that leads us to these women of truth, the great wonders of mother's truth, emeth. It means to be holy. The word on their forehead could very well be emeth, mothers of truth, and holy unto God. These mothers of truth are. They're holding the Almighty's law upon their tongue. Once again, it was to come from their tongue. It was not to come from Adam's tongue, from man's tongue. They turned everything upside down, told the potter she had no power over her in creation. So the potter here, a pair of stones, a potter's wheel, or a midwife's stool, consisting of two horizontal discs, like a support between wheel and stone, which when you hit on, it's same as Eben. It is 68. It is a foundation stone, feminine, it was rejected. Feminine, 68. She's the stone that was denied. And then we get the verse, why now do I see every man standing around with his hands on his hips, as if he gives life. Yeah. And then Father in his children. All right. Yeah. He's the accuser. That's what he is. So I have that, in Revelation 6:14, because this coming down into darkness when you deny your creator. Just a second. Let me go back here. Where is it? I don't think it's that far back. We'll get there. Right there. Yeah. 12:54. You denied your creator in the days of your youth. And what does it say? Right? Before the darkness enters in and you have no pleasure in life. You better remember your creator. So that's a stern warning, a solemn warning, warning us of what exactly, right? Like, what exactly what is it talking about that possibly is maybe about ready to play out? So it says, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. So that takes us to Revelation, doesn't it? Or it did me in my thinking. Where is Revelation? It was just here. Right there. No, and that's still the wrong one. It's Revelation 6, right? So do I have Revelation 6 right down? Yeah, it's Revelation 6:14. Yeah. So I got to follow my notes here because I'm getting off track. So it's Revelation 6. Watch here how it lines up to Ecclesiastes 12, verse 2. So if we scroll down, what does it say here? It is we'll get there. Verse 12. And I beheld when she had opened the sixth seal, and lo, there was a great earthquake. And the sun became black as sackcloth of hair, and the moon became as blood, and the stars of heaven fell into the earth, even as a fig tree casteth her untimely figs when she is shaken of a mighty wind. So that is the liars falling, is your understanding. Off of her lying tree, because she's in covenant with Baal, who's really in charge of the host. That's in Jeremiah 50. Baal is the king of Babylon, which is another name for your husband as Lord and God. And he's an inaccessibly high head in the form of really Jesus, which is also the feet of the idol that causes that idol in the image of a male to stand truly in the land. Now, I deal again with Christianity before you get further in here. It's not that I could not deal with Islamists. It's not that I could not deal with Judaism. These are two other religious offshoots of the Abrahamic covenant. Well, actually, the first one being Judaism, which created the religious lie of Jesus, is what we completely understand because of the idol in Daniel 2. These kings built up a male idol because it appealed to them and they knew it empowered them in this religious lie. And each successive kingdom we see continuing to build upon this religious lie and idol. And at the very bottom, we realize that it was the feet of Jesus that's causing the idol to stand. He thinks he's inaccessibly high. Nobody can touch this idol of Jesus or this male god created in Judaism and its offshoot in Islamist. They're all from the Abrahamic religious lies, is what they spurn from. And so we come to understand that. So she's become the harlot spirit, which is why it's identified as a harlot spirit, is what is in the heart of Baal. He exalts the harlot spirit so he can, in fact, be the god of this world and take control of her law system, which rightfully was to come off of the righteous daughter's tongue, which is why we see the new branch coming away from the harlot daughter in Revelations 14:4. Now, the men want to go, we're not defiled by you women. You're the reason why women are defiled. Dummies, you don't understand that? The word defiled there takes you straight back to the Shulamite. It takes you back to no man. It takes you back to the word besmirched, to be blackened. And she says, look not upon me, because the sun has looked upon me. My mother's sons were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyard, but my own vineyard I have not kept. So we understand that the false light came and besmirched her. It defiled her. And this new branch, as your understanding, comes away from the harlots of Babylon that is willing to bow to a male idol and make him king and let him break the laws and yoke her under a religious and bitter law system. And that is what it is. You get the Mara. And we looked at that again in the last video posted to Ruth Abbey. My name's Naomi, okay? I went by Ruth because that is my middle name. And I used the word Abby from my pet dog, who is no longer with us. Me and my son adored her. Anyway, she passed about 3 summers ago now. We loved her. We miss her. But anyway, yeah, Abby was her name. So that was my dog. So that's why I named the channel Ruth Abbey. My name is Naomi. And my first and middle name would be Naomi Ruth. Right? Those are my names. I won't give you my last. Anyway, so what was I talking about? So here we see this passage taking us back to Revelations 12:2. So remember your Creator before these bad times come upon you. Because remembering your Creator is going to bring actually glory to you. Yeah. Now let's go back to the almond branch here. Let's keep reading here before we go back to the almond branch. Revelation 6:14. And the heaven departed as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of the place. You know what island and mountains are? Yes, you can look at Earth as a huge quake happening, but we also see the solar system out there that largely defined to us as outer space, known as the second heaven. They're known as mountains and islands out there, and they're also being moved and shaken out of their place. Why? What could affect that? Gee, I wonder. Well, it sounds like another planet in the height, which is what it says in Ecclesiastes 12, correct? And I am not hitting on transfiguration or transmigration of the soul at all, am I? Which is in this video to come. I may have to cut it short, and we may have to examine that in the next video. I didn't realize I was going to be so thorough. So, and the heavens depart as a scroll when it is rolled together, and every mountain and island were moved out of the place. We're also getting the parting of the Red Sea in allegory here. The religious lies, an admixture of doctrine, and somebody coming in possibly great anger, because they haven't remembered their Creator in the days of their youth. And the kings, it's interesting, it's the kings. It's as if they're dragons and have a little bit more insight on what really is going on, what they did behind the scenes, that here in verse 15 we got, and the kings of the earth, and the great men, and the rich men, and the chief captains, and the mighty men, and every bondman, and every free man hid themselves in the dens, and in the rocks of the mountain Y, and said to the mountains and rocks, fall on us and hide us from the face of him. Who? Who did you deny? Well, you didn't deny Father corruption. You didn't deny Son corruption. You know who you denied? You denied your Creator. You denied your Potter. You denied your Maker. You denied your Mother. That's who you denied. Fall on us and hide us from the face of her that sitteth on the throne. And this is imposed. I've understood this from reading what the Jews have said about the manuscript of Revelation and what it is based on. And they said there is no such passage of the Lamb. They've imposed it in there. There's no such passages with the name of Jesus in there. They've imposed it on the text. The Christian writers of the manuscript of making up Revelation, they impose that name upon the text. So they got, and from the wrath of the Lamb. It's not his wrath. Man is not entitled to wrath. Man wrote the law and did just what he wanted to do to her under that law. He is not entitled to no such thing as wrath. We see the entitled one, the branch, 136, that sits to 113's right hand as the one with indignation and wrath. And it's her, 136, daughter Zion, the branch that comes forth. Shiloh, the one to whom it belongs to. That has the idea of the heir apparent, right? And if it's an heir apparent, it means no one else can replace her. It has to be her. That means of the original branch. She is the heir apparent. So verse 17, for the great day of her wrath, the great day of the Lord is come, and who shall be able to stand? Well, we know that you can't stand before the messenger, which is the precursor of the true Lord that comes in first before her, identifying her in Malachi chapter, chapter 3? It says, who shall be able to stand before her when she comes to her temple body, when she comes to her body? And it's her, the words are like a fuller soap. Well, it was the women identified washing the garment clean, identified as your body in the upper pool, which I've identified as Beth Horon, that was built by Shira, who built Three City, who means kinsman, kinswoman. Your kinswoman, Shira. And it says, but you had no respect to the maker thereof. Then we see kings like Hezekiah and King Solomon creating a ditch of the upper pool to drain it into the lower pool where all the filth actually would go into. And they made all that filth in the lower pool really your upper pool, when it was really supposed to come from the house in the forest of Lebanon. We identified as the key of David, these daughters who would wash and keep your garment clean with the fuller soap. So it says, who can stand before this messenger who has come to her temple with the fuller soap and with the fire that cleanses and purifies? Who? But she comes as a precursor before the true Lord here, who's identified as parting the heavens and coming in. We get the heights. Now let's go back to, okay, we'll go forward to, where is it? Ecclesiastes 12. What does it say? What does it say? We'll go back up. 1. Remember now thy Creator in the days of your youth, while the evil days come not, nor the years draw nigh, when thou shalt say, I have no pleasure in life anymore. I have no delight in living. You know, when a hard life comes upon you, when those horrible events of the tribulation and bad things, such as the darkening of the sun, the moon, and the stars, and the clouds have returned, your cloud of witnesses as your branch that has begun to blossom. It says he goes down to see if the trees have blossomed, to see if the branch of the almond has blossomed. It's not him, it's her that goes down, because that's identified as her personal inheritance in the way that she rules. Yeah. Which is supposed to be the scepter in his hand. But Mother Almighty chooses that out, not Father. Father exalts Mother's law. That's what his purpose was. So it says, I have no pleasure in them, while the sun or the light or the moon or the stars be not darkened, nor the clouds return after the rain. Now watch this. No, it's not that verse. It's the next one. In the day when the keepers of the house shall tremble, and the strong men shall bow themselves, and the grinders cease because they are few, and those that look out of the windows be darkened, and the doors shall be shut in the streets when the sound of the grinding is low. Why would the grinding be low? That indicates a shortage of food. And she shall rise up at the voice of the bird, or he shall rise up at the voice of the bird, and all the daughters of music shall be brought low. Now, this is where we hit. Also, when they shall be afraid of that which is high. What's high? You know, it sounds very much like a planet. That's high. It sounds like an invasion, that overflowing scourge that will come in to disannul the covenant of lies. But we get the branch being blossomed here. Now let's see where that branch takes us to. We did this again in a prior video. So also when they shall be afraid of that which is high, that planet when it comes and parts the waters comes in, and she is sitting upon that throne, your Creator that you denied, and fears shall be in the way for all the things that are coming upon this earth, And the almond tree shall flourish, and the grasshopper shall be a burden, and desire shall fail, because man goeth to his long home, and the mourners go about the street. So we could talk on about that, but we're not going to, because we're going to go to one word here. Where is it? Okay, so it's not there. I got other words right down, but that's okay. I think I actually have this one pulled up. It is the word luz. It's going to take us to something quite important. So, understanding where this almond branch blossoms from, and I've identified it as the daughters that come out of this Zion. So Zion simply means a branch. So I just say Zion for those who don't understand all of the context of who these daughters are really referencing. Okay, if it's that hard. And there was one who complained about they're not called Zion and all this crap because she knew so much more than me, because apparently she's so deep into studying, I don't know nothing. That's okay. God said they're going to be there to oppose them. But when I show up, it'll be to their great shame and to your great glory. That's the almond branch blossoming. That's all these daughters here on this channel and those outside, apart from this channel, that is understanding this very simple truth. God's truth reasons. And you are without excuse not to understand the Godhead. Plain and simple. It is not Father that gave life to these children. It is Mother. Plain and simple. So Luz is 3870. Why is Luz important? It's an earlier name of Bethel. Bethel? Bethlehem Ephrata. Now, it's not Bethlehem. They want to take you to Judah. That's the lower pool of filth, right? That now governs this world in his law system of filth and pollution that has defiled the daughters under a bitter law system upon her neck because she lost sight of her own argument and stronghold. That's what that means. So 3870, an earlier name of Bethel. Where was Bethel? That was in Ephraim. Bethel was in Ephraim. Also a Hittite city. Hittite is important here because it says your mother was a Hittite, your father was an Ammonite. That's kind of important, isn't it? It's identifying feminine and masculine. So the Hittite here would be, in many ways, we know it is. It's a reference to the daughter, Luz. Earlier name of Bethel. Luz. Now, for a moment, I had got it mixed up with the location. Now, look what else it means here. Lightning. Oh, look at that. A following, meaning unknown. They know it. They just hide this stuff and bury it. Compare perhaps Arabic shine, gleam, flash of a star. Lightning. Wipe out. Efface with reference to a smooth surface. But we get the flash of light. We get the lightning. The thunder booms before the lightning shows up, right? It also, when we get looking at the light of the body, all right, so this is going to take us to the transmigration of the soul eventually, which is probably not going to appear in this video because this, I have a feeling, is getting pretty long. But it's lightning here. And, when the body, when the mind, spirit, and soul, they're all identified as part of the spirit. So we'll have to look at this a little later because there's so much to look at. Is that your eye is light when you have enlightenment, when you've been illuminated with that truth. The idea is that when the spirit actually leaves this body, if it's been an enlightened spirit with the truth, it's going to leave as a bright light. And it's going to have wings, is what is identified in Scripture. And so when we get, stories, we get accounts of people who claim to have left their body and was looking down. Well, that's your spirit. And some people will say, well, when so-and-so died, there was a light in the room, right? And a great light. And you'll get it in movies. They'll have bodies splitting open and a light coming out of it. And that's the transmigration of the soul when it is enlightened. And there is an idea behind it that when the spirit leaves this body, which is made up the spirit, mind, and soul, is all to do with the spirit, one. So all your memories go with you from this existence. that you gave wings also. This spirit appears to have a set of wings when it flies to its new body. And we get the word fly away. That's why we get an account to a transmigration of the spirit in the sense of a spirit moving and flying out of this body into another one, which we'll look at more at. But for now, we're looking at Luz. So Luz, probably from Luz, as growing there. Luz, the name of two places in Palestine. But it was a city in Ephraim. Let me see. Because Bethel was in Ephraim. So they really want to lead you away. They don't want to say a place in Ephraim. But let's do it. Let's pull up Bethel to get our... Oh, now I'm probably going to lose where that tab is. Strong's Hebrew, Bethel. We're going to go back to that in a minute. So Bethel means house. And it means house of God, right? So Bethel was in Ephraim. House of God was in Ephraim. That was the house in the forest of Lebanon. Okay, Bethel 1008. House of God, a city in Ephraim. Now it says also a place in South Judah. They want to call that Bethlehem. It just means a house. House Ephraim is where your governor, your shepherdess, comes from, which is also why Joseph is identified as the stone where the shepherdess comes from. It's not a man, it's a female. All right? Now here we go back to, because we've identified where Bethel is, we go back to Luz. All right? Because it was another name, it was the name preceding the name Bethel. Luz was another name for Bethel. Bethel was a location in Ephraim. All right? We also get that it was Bethel where Jacob fought the angel and took her birthright from her. Yeah, she. So what's Luz? What's important about the name Luz? It says probably from Luz. So let's go in and see what that says. An almond tree? Oh my gosh. Really? 3869, Luz. Almond tree. Almond wood. They got masculine. No. These are identified as females. The new branch of mothers. When she comes in, parts the waters, and people become scared of that high place because the overflowing scourge of witnesses have blossomed. Yeah. So they're afraid of this branch. Yeah, is your understanding. Now, why would we think it was a planet, pray tell? What would make you think there's a such thing as planets? Well, number one, that moon out there pulls on our tides, right? There's the pull of that. There's the pull of the sun on Earth. And we get all that understanding of how gravity works. Now you can argue and say Earth is flat, Earth is all this, all whatever. What we see out there in the skies is round. We also get that God sits on the, the circle of the earth. God sits on the top of the earth, the circle, it says. And so, I mean, you can argue about it, whatever. The point is, there is some evidence to suggest that this high place here is, in fact, a planet that does so come in. And it says, when I appear, when Mother, the Creator that you denied as the ruler of your planet, this is mine, it belongs to me, I'm the rightful ruler, and you are imposing a man-made law upon my planet. And there's my daughters fighting for my truth. When I appear, it'll be to their great glory, and it'll be to your great shame, you harlots that bow to man, you Baals, who's going to hide yourselves and pray for the mountains to fall upon your heads for what you did. And having the keen eyesight of a dragon, you knew supposedly what you were doing to my birthright. This is mine. And there seems to be multiple planets that falls within the daughter's birthright. But Mother created and made everything. And she says, I'll cut off your right to cast cords for more lots after you started presenting your harlot spirit in the basket for your first fruits to come to me. And then these harlots start saying, well, he represents me. And you know what Mother says I think it's in the book of Enoch, I might be wrong. She says, why are you sending a man to represent you? You come yourself to me. You don't send him. He don't represent you. You represent you. You are my branch in the earth. I do not rule through a harlot. I rule through a righteous spirit. And her law that was from me, that you boys took and turned upside down and told her that she had no power over it. And you know what? It don't make sense. You have fell into your own snare, into your own ditch, and you do not want to reason. You are afraid of reasoning. And if there is one thing that God's truth does, it reasons out, it makes sense. And you're watching blood. God says, if I were hungry, I would not ask you because I own everything. Why would I ask for blood? I told you not to shed blood. That was one of my laws. And then you say, the laws come from him? What right do you have to take my statutes on your tongue? You had no right. So why do you suppose they're afraid of the high places and the kings are hiding themselves under the mountains and these wicked sons who's going, oh, Jesus, 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 and singing these horrible songs that used to brainwash you? God says, you changed the sweet over into bitterness and you put a law on my daughters' necks. The kings took counsel and decree against my holy ones and said, let us cut her off from being a nation. And you did when you turned everything upside down and you told her she had no power over her own creation. But you know, that don't reason. It's Father, Daddy, and her children. You look like utter fools to Mother. You do. Utter fools. Especially when you come out of the ditch and you start your climb. Yeah. Where else was I going? So what evidence do we have? We go to Isaiah 64. Let's go to Isaiah 64. Do I got it pulled up? Right there. What does it say that kind of makes us think this is a planetary system that's coming in? That's gonna. I saw this in a dream, and before I read this, I had two separate dreams, and just for a moment, just for a split second, because I think the fear would have been too great for me to experience in full. But in both of these dreams, I was for a split second allowed to experience a great fear that I felt. Now, in one of them, I saw, I believe, the departure of the glory. That's what I think I was witnessing. And the fear in me was so great, it just was welling up so great. And I only experienced it for a split second because I don't think I'd have wanted to experience any more than what I did. And I think I was like, my great help is leaving. It was that feeling. And I was bearing witness to planets in the sky and different things in these dreams. And I've spoken on them over the years. They really confuse me because I didn't put a whole lot of stock into any of that. And it wasn't until I started really delving into the scriptures that it began to validate what the heavenly war was looking like more and more, and how the Bible actually validates that for those of us who are willing to dig for the truth. And if I can find my study on that, I'd like to go into that as well, the word dig and all that. Anyway, but I think I was so terrified because my great help was leaving. In another dream, I saw the inbound system of a foreign body coming in. And my heart was in great fear because I knew it was him against me. And the glory had left. My help was leaving. And I saw these in like split second visions, dreams. The dream was a bit longer, but the fear was like a split second that I was allowed to fear. And then it was cut away from me. I wasn't allowed to feel it. And it was a good thing because it was a great fear in both cases. My great help was leaving and he was coming in to oppress and make war. And I think my heart knew that. I think I saw that. And if your eyes can't be open enough and your ears can't be open enough to look around you and see what he has done with the law that did not come from his tongue, it was supposed to come from her tongue. She was the foundation stone denied in the beginning, your so-called lamb, your she-goat who now must climb for the truth. She's got to climb out of that ditch of lies where he drained the upper pool, which was the government system of God, the key of David. That was her rightful position of power to write and make the laws, which came directly from her mother, your creator that you denied in the days of your youth. Now, this is the passage where we get the idea of a high place, being afraid of the high places. And it is validated as being a large planetary body. Isaiah 64, verse 1, oh, that thou wouldest rend the heavens, that thou wouldest come down, that the mountains might flow down at thy presence. Oh, look at that. That mountain that might flow down. What flows down? Lava flows down from a mountain. As when the melting fire burneth, the fire causes the waters to boil to make thy name known to thine adversaries. Your name, Mother, Creator, Maker, Giver of life, created all things out there and determined who gets allotted what. And these planets seem to be symbolized by the birth of a child on each one, symbolizing that, and then their children. The fire causes the waters to boil to make thine name known to thine adversaries, that the nations may tremble at your presence, Mother. That almond branch. When thou didst terrible things which we looked not for, thou camest down, and the mountains flowed down at thy presence, quaked at your presence. It's a body pulling on Earth. It's a large planetary body from all appearance that is pulling on Earth. For since the beginning of the world, not 2,000 years ago when Jesus come on his cross, his X, that's an idol. And before we continue here in verse 4, what does God say? God says, a man will take a hunk of wood and create something that don't breathe, see, bleed, hear, and he'll bow down to it and worship it. And me, the actual creator, who can give life to something that can hear, see, bleed, move, do many things, and yet that unmovable idol is the maker, is your maker. That's how stupid you are. That's how stupid this creation is. And that's what Uriel says to Ezra in the book of Ezra. How can I tell you of heavenly things if you don't even know what's going on your own planet? You can't be bothered to open your eyes. You can't be bothered to open your ears. Oh my gosh, we wouldn't want you to reason. And yet God's truth is so simple. It reasons. And yet, because of the cult and that he pronoun that they wrote all over the place to brainwash you continually, you can't pull yourself up out of the ditch that the blind has led you into. So let's go back to this. For since the beginning of the world, men have not heard nor perceived by the ear, neither has the eye seen, O God, beside thee, what she hath prepared for her. That's right, her glory that waiteth for her. And they accuse her, oh, you say she's going to deliver you. Like, we've done this in videos again in the Old Testament where it says, you wait and you say, she's your maker, she's your creator. Let's see her deliver to you. Right? They just mock. Such is what they do every time they preach Jesus and Father. All glory, but you blaspheme the Holy One's name. And you think you're going to get away with it. And yet, we're told that when she comes in and parts the waters, we've got the precursor on earth doing that. Yeah, that would be me. I'm a precursor to that. Also the messenger with the fuller soul. Yeah. Remember your creator in the days of your youth before the dark days come. Yeah. And the overflowing scourge comes in to cut you away. You harlots that bow to this idol and build it up like it's something special and can wash you in blood. Blood stains you. Actually, your own blood. The blood on your hands is actually testifying against you if you only but knew it. Every time you lift your hands up in blood and say, Jesus, Jesus, you testify to the religious lie and law system that you're following. And so she goes, hey, you're making this easy for me. You're washed in water. She says, come to my waters freely. Isaiah 55. She doesn't say you need purchasing power. She says buy, believe them. Buy. Buy the truth and sell it not. Buy there means believe. Does not mean purchase. Buy the truth. Believe the truth, the water. The gently flowing waters of Shiloh. Shiloh, the branch that I rule through, the gently flowing waters of Shiloh, which is an almond branch, according to this, from Luz, Ephraim, the firstborn daughters. Yeah, believing the truth, climbing out of the ditch of lies, the well that Solomon drained and Hezekiah drained, and like many kings, and Hezekiah tore down all the female representation. You were to have no male or female representations of God. You were to follow the way of God, and that way was to come off the daughter's tongue as the law of God, and you denied your creator. So where were we going to go from there? We were actually going to go to Isaiah 48. We're also going to go to this word stuxia. Let's do stuxia first. But it says, no, let's go to Isaiah 48. So it says, for since the beginning of the world, men have not heard. You didn't hear it 2,000 years ago because Jesus did not extrapolate or expound the scriptures like they claim he did. You know what he did? He said, me, every time. You know what that means? He says, you know what that scripture there means? He didn't expound it at all. He said, it means me. You know who the key of David is? It's me. You know who your lawgiver is? It's me. You know who your scepter and your branches? It's me. You know who Father is in the Holy Spirit? It's me. Like, that was his answer to everything. You know, that was Baal. Fell into his own snare. He didn't even know what the scriptures meant anymore. And though we have a keen-sighted dragon here that's influencing the governments behind the system, she becomes keen also, is your understanding. Her eyes begin to open and she begins to shine with the light, the truth. And that truth takes the lion dragon out. And it states it in Revelations. It says, no scabbard is found for his sword. You know what sword is allegorical to? The word of God, right? So we know that his lie is not the word of God. We know it's a lie. So it says no scabbard is found for his sword anymore. No place is found for his word anymore because she takes him out. So there's understanding there also that we hit on, and I don't have a full comprehension of it yet. But that she says, when I created Behemoth, I created Leviathan right beside you. Now, when we got looking into the history of the Draco constellation, that in some understanding way back in the past, it was actually looked upon as a heifer or as a cow in the sky, which then becomes a Leviathan. So it means he took her seat of power. We also know that the North Star separated. It once was in the head of Draco. The North Star is identifying her, as the ruler. And she became the little she-goat star. Yeah, they want to call Big Bear Little Bear. Big Bear Mama's mad because you stole her cubs from her little bear. So I tend to think Big Bear might come out of the constellation of Draco, but I don't know that. It seems like it did. But that North Star was once in the head of Draco, which really was the heifer, a gentle flowing law system. So we saw you turned everything upside down is kind of your understanding. So we're going over a lot of detail here that we've come to understand over the years. Now we're going to head to Isaiah 48 because here it says, she says, for since the beginning, not since Jesus. It says since the beginning. And this is a prophecy for the end. You have not heard or perceived by ear, neither has the eye seen, O God, beside thee what she has prepared for her that waiteth for her. So, do I got Isaiah 48 pulled up? I should have it here. Maybe I don't. I thought I did. Let me keep going back here. I don't. Okay, so we'll do this. We will go to right there. Okay, so just a second here. We're going to pull up Isaiah 48. Okay. So, okay, sorry. I'm getting there. So 48. And now we got to search which passage. Okay, so I'm not going to get to the Transmigration this time. Sorry, because this all leads us up to it. Really, it does. The Transmigration of the soul. Um, okay, so let's begin at one. Hear ye this, O house of not Jacob, Israel. He stole her birthright, her title. We saw him wrestling with she, Mahanaim, the camp of God, which we see with the Shulamite identified as camp of she-goats. So he wrestled with her, yeah, the daughter of Zion, took her birthright, called it his, daddy, and his children. That was the wicked imaginations of Baal, your husband, playing Lord and God. He prophesied through the he pronoun. God said, I sent you not. God's representation was camp of Mahanaim as these daughters on earth with the law of heaven on her tongue. Job says, I made a covenant with mine eyes. Why then should I think upon a maid? For what portion of God is there from above? The inheritance of mother. Yeah, that's right. So the men supposedly agreed to her law and to her covenant and then turned on her and stabbed her in the back. Men like Jacob did that. So, I was going to say something else there. So, O house of Israel, not Jacob, which are called by my name, Israel, and are come forth out of the waters of Judah? No, Israel, which swear by the name of the Lord and make mention of the God of Israel, but not in truth nor in righteousness. So, okay, so maybe it is Judah. I believe I did translate that as Judah in a prior study. Um, but not in truth nor in righteousness. So they make mention of God, but they lie about who God is. They say Father is God of all things, but you denied your Creator in the days of your youth. And we see how they did that by taking the righteous daughters out. They were murdering the wise women on the cornerstones in Lamentations 4:1, and they were offering up a blood libation as opposed to a water libation. For they call themselves of the holy city and stay themselves upon the God of Israel, the Lord of hosts is her name. That's right, her children, hosts are hers. I have declared the former things from the beginning, and they went forth out of my mouth, and I showed them, and I did them suddenly, and they came to pass. So I'm going to shift to a different rendering here because it becomes very clear when you're reading it. Verse 4 of Isaiah. It's the NIV we'll go to, just because it's so clear. For I knew how stubborn you were, Adam. Your neck muscles were iron, your forehead was bronze. You had created an argument in a case against me and accused me before my very own mother. Psalm 50, she says that. Now will I lay the case in order as the Qoheleth, setting the Proverbs in order. That's right. Therefore, I told you these things long ago, and before they happened, I announced them to you, so that you could not say, my images, my carved image of a man, male. Daniel 2. Every successive kingdom has built upon this male image of God. All the harlots have bowed down and kissed his backside. You see them making video after video, building Jesus up and, oh, pat my head, man. I love it when you pat my little head and tell me I'm doing the right thing because I don't have wisdom in my brain. Which takes us back to the Templars and what they believed, the light of the body. Yeah. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind, girls, but we realize you can't. You want to be patted on the head by man, by this image. My image has brought them about. My wooden image and metal. God ordained them. Not the truth. He can't say what the key of David is. She says, it's my branch that brings the truth forward. So you will not say, my image has brought them about, and my wooden image and metal God ordained them. You have heard these things. Look at them all. Will you not admit them? Nah, they got too much pride. From now on, I will tell you of new things, of hidden things unknown to you. I will use my daughters to do it with. My branch. They are created now, and not long ago. You have not heard of them before today. So you cannot say, yes, I knew of them. You have neither heard nor understood. From of old your ears have not been open. Well, do I know how treacherous you are? You were called a rebel from birth. You got rebel moon. Look at that. I just clued in on that. You were called a rebel from birth. We got rebel moon. How do we link the moon to the brothers? Through sin. Sennacherib. What did sin mean? Another name for? Sin has shaped the brothers, right? Go watch my video on Sennacherib. Sennacherib's right in the title if you haven't, on Ruth Abbey. But watch this. No, let's go to, okay. So sin was the beginning name of Sennacherib. Let me go here. No, that's not going to work. So let's go back. I'm sorry about that. I actually have to punch in Sennacherib to do this. And I did. I punched in sin. So Sennacherib, how does that link us to the moon? The rebel moon. Isn't this funny how they actually flaunt it right in front of your faces, and then the men will get up here and they're breaking down what all these things are, and it really means Jesus is coming. No, they're still at it. They're still at their foolishness, and you're letting them do it. So, sin, Sennacherib, meaning sin has replaced the brothers, was the king of the Neo-Assyrian Empire. Okay, so we actually, when it says sin here, it's got a highlight, so you can hit on it. And when you hit on it, it's an Akkadian name. Was the Mesopotamian god representing the moon? Look at that. What's the moon governing? Night, darkness, right? It's it's over the night. So technically, without the true light of God, we still, though it's daylight here, we're still in darkness because we don't have the truth. We have actually the moon ruling the sun, is your idea. Look not upon me. My mother's sons were angry with me. They made me the keeper of the vineyard, but my own vineyard I have not kept. So we get the rebel moon here, the rebel sons, right? Sin has reshaped, replaced the brothers, and they dealt treacherously with me there. Go watch that video. If you actually want the truth, if you want to be put to great shame when the truth comes for you, because this is her birthright. This was her allotment, and you turned on her. So she's had to come in and basically investigate when I make an inquisition into the bloodshed. Why has all of this happened in my allotment of planets? Why is there so much bloodshed and war and hate towards me? Why? I want to know why. And I'm going to send my spirit in to make an inquisition. And once she finds out what the problem is, I'm going to come in. And you're not going to like it. It's going to be very solemn for those who denied the Creator in the days of their youth. You're not getting it yet, are you? You're still not. Too much pride. Even Solomon supposedly said only a fool shuts down something without hearing it first and reasoning. Come on, makes sense, boys. Makes sense, girls. I have even from the beginning declared it to thee. Before it came to pass, I showed it thee. Lest thou should say, mine idol has done them, and my graven image and my molten image hath commanded them. Oh, no, no, no. Jesus didn't declare none of this. Your idol declared none of it. You know what he said? Me and Father. And you blasphemed me. This is my allotment. Mine. This was my birthright. This was not yours. You took charge of the law system here when it was ordained to be on my inheritance tongues, which were the daughters of Israel. And you denied them. Still not making sense, though, is it? That's okay, because it will be on you. Who can stand before this messenger? It says, with the fuller soap. Who can stand before her when she comes to her temple? She's coming. It says, where is it? Where is it? It's in Isaiah 40. What does she say in Isaiah 40? Isaiah 40? Still, I may have too many tabs up. I should have brought my Bible. Oh, come on. Okay. Isaiah 40. I'm soon going to have to be done. There we go. Did pull it up. So what does she say in Isaiah 40? Comfort ye, my people, my daughters, and a few sons that may be of me. So far I haven't got any indication that men are watching my videos. So far I'm getting the indication that it's all women. I've had men threaten me or violence. It's only men that threaten in the way that these were threatened. It wasn't no women threatening this crap. It was men. And the only postings I've gotten in the comments were all women, to my understanding. So I have to say the people that's being comforted here is the daughters who's had to suffer under this religious lie and law system of the Mara, the bitterness of the law. Call me not Naomi, call me Mara. It's a bitter law system. You changed sweetness to bitterness, and then you say to the daughters, what? Peace, peace. Don't worry. It's all from God. Peace, peace, girls. We're allowed to do this to you. It's from God, Him. It is. Peace, peace. When there is no peace, and one built up a wall, and lo, others daubed it with untempered mortar. And she says, I will say to that wall, it will fall, because I'm going to bore through your truth. Yeah, and I'm going to rebuke you for your lies. And if you don't change, you will be cut away. That's my daughter's rights. Speak ye comfortably to her, and cry unto her that her warfare is ended, accomplished, and that her iniquity is pardoned, for she has received of the Lord's hand double for all her sins. And she did. But they want to put that's man beating up on a woman. Yeah. Because, God validates that. No, she says, she received double because she could not present her case. She remained silent until she could acquire the evidence she needed to present her case. And she does that. Long time have I held my peace. Now will I go forth as a travailing woman. Isaiah 42. Now they want to put he at the beginning of that. Let me see. It is. Again, in 42, behold, the former things are come to pass, and new things do I declare before they spring forth. I, she, will tell you of them, not he. He didn't. He couldn't. It was Baal behind the image of Jesus, putting words in his mouth. And by that time, he had fell into his own snare. He couldn't understand the scriptures. They were handed off to the wise men, and the wise men were saying, well, I cannot. Because they had fell into their snare by that time. They had lost sight of the truth that they were trying to actually bury. And they buried it so deep, they couldn't find it themselves. So, it says, the Lord shall go forth as a mighty, not man, it's a woman. These are her strong ones. The she-goats is how they're identified. She shall stir up jealousy. Yeah, that's the sword entering in. I come not to bring peace. I don't, but division. That's the branch parting, the birthing canal, the Red Sea, into the two covenants that they are. One of blood, one of water. It seems that the new branch will come out of both sides of this. We tend to believe it will come more of Christianity because it speaks of the wine on the table. There may be wine in Judaism. There may be wine in the religion of Islam. But I know in Christianity, the wine sits on the table. And so when we speak of the wine in allegory, it is about the parting of the admixture of lies that sits on the table, allegorical to the wine of the Red Sea that she parts. And she's like a sword going through as well. I come not to bring peace, but a sword. And baby, it's going to stir up jealousy like a woman of war. Yeah, baby, if that don't stir the men and their harlots right with them. I hesitate to call him men. Baal and his harlots right with him. So we got the covenant between Baal Berith and El Berith. If it don't stir them up, watch them. I don't know what does. She shall cry, yea, roar, she shall prevail. It says, in the council of many, you shall make your war. So we have actually been doing that by understanding so many written things that were written over the centuries, over the decades, over the years, by many different people who you would collect a piece here, a piece there, and you would put it all together, much like you do in the Bible. And so you end up with that little book sealed up, that little word of truth that flows like a silver thread water that'll wash you clean. Come to my waters. I will wash the blood off of my daughters, off of my new branch, who is gonna blossom like an almond branch. And they're gonna be afraid of the high places because they did not remember their Creator in their days of their youth. I have long time holding my peace. I have been still and I have restrained myself. And she's restrained herself. Yeah, the Holy One has pulled back until she could investigate into why there was so much bloodshed going on in her allotment, in her planets. And there does seem to be this planetary alignment with the sun. So it says the six planets, I believe, are going to align in the sun. It almost looks like the seven-headed beast because we know that the false light is ruling, and we know the false light has been taken control by the rebel moon, which are the sons who took control of her light. She's supposed to be the light of the world, but she'll have the moon at her feet before it's said and done. And the light at her back, right? She's clothed in light, and only she's the one that can do that. But until she makes inquisition, and she does that over thousands of years, is how it plays out for us here on earth. Like, don't play out so long. Like 1,000 years to the Lord is a day. Like 1,000 years to us is a day unto the Lord. So the time frame is very different for us here. But she's certainly making her inquisitions, right? And once she does, and once she establishes her case, takes back authority of her own allotment that he stole through his wicked accusations from the beginning, she takes it all back. She's that angel standing on land and sea in Revelations 10 with her deed in her hand, and in fact, that little book. And then she hands it to John, the bigger book, which really is the Biblios. And she says, eat of it. Eat of it. Go teach it. Go teach it. Go teach it until I show up. Yeah. And I'll show you things that you have never seen. And she says, the Lord shall go forth as a mighty woman. She shall stir up jealousy like a woman of war. She shall cry, and they were as men at war, ripping the glory off of these daughters along with their garments. They were defiling them. They surrendered in the marriage covenant is what we come to understand. There's several words there that will lead you to the understanding that they actually had to surrender in betrothal and be married to this lie to overcome it. So we see them, and then we see them actually coming away and asking for a bill of divorcement from this lying covenant, this lie of Adam on his tongue that they really never agreed to. They were forced down in wicked submission to it, which means through violence, through removal of her rights, her right to make the law. And on and on and on it goes. We've investigated it. We've made our investigation. We have. The Lord shall go forth. We've read that. I have long time holden my peace. I have been still and I have restrained myself. Now will I go forth like a travailing woman. That's exactly what it says. I will destroy and I will devour at once. I will make waste your mountains and your hills. It's got him in charge. Your satyr, your devil, your she-goat, your Baal, your husband, who climbed to her mountain, which is really hers, and shoved her off, the she-goat, an allegory. And I will make the rivers islands, and I will dry up the pools, and I will bring the blind by a way that they knew not. And I will lead them in pathways that they have not known. The waters come in and covered over my pathway in the very beginning. You didn't see it. Because those liars were out to get me in my allotment. They made war against me, but they cannot overcome me because I have the truth. This is mine. And I would never ask you for the blood of a bull and a goat. I told you not to shed blood. And crooked things straight, these things will I do unto them, and I will not forsake you. I will send the truth in. And I will not quench a smoking reed. If you're willing to receive this truth, I'm not going to quench you and cut you down. It's for the wicked who will stay in their ditch, who's going to stay in their little ditch, who's going to stay playing a harlot, who's going to stay as a bellman, just like his forefather who taught the lie. It's for you that the almond branch comes for. These things will I do unto them, and I will not forsake them. They shall be turned back. They shall be greatly ashamed that trusted in graven images. The word for image here is male. That say to the molten images, ye are our gods, and you hold your hands up in blood, testifying that this is the covenant that you walked. You agreed to the bloodshed law of Jesus that puts the martyr. Take the yoke off of thy neck. I guess we ain't getting into it. Maybe I'll post this before April 8th, and then we're really going to head straight in to the transmigration of the soul, because this was what built me up to it. So I'm doing the first part first, I guess. And then we're going to hit exactly what it means for us in the next life. When you have been enlightened, we get that. So I think I'm going to call it there. Was I heading somewhere else? I got that up for a reason. Yeah, I forget. I was supposed to go somewhere else on that. Anyway, can't remember. Sorry. I'm sorry about that. I apologize. So anyway, there's a heads up to the heads up. How's that? Maybe I'll call it that. A heads up to the heads up. So anyway, that's it. There's a lot of info in there for anybody who's interested in learning the truth, who really wants to remember your creator before she actually shows up, before the almond branch comes into full existence and full authority. You may want to give this an honest lesson, not a pretend. Oh, I heard, I knew, I did, I really gave it an honest lesson. Listen, it don't make sense to me. Well, if it don't make sense, it's because you're afraid. That's why. Yeah. Because it says because of their fear, they can't handle reason. They can't listen to it. They're afraid to listen to it, and it's the fear that it's going to make sense, and it does once you open yourself up to hear it and to weigh it up. Anyway, thanks for watching. I pray you're all blessed with an abundance of truth. I thank you for watching my videos, and I hope you all have a lovely day. And thanks again.